Hello, would you like to vote? Yes, I want to vote in the referendum on the issue of the Donetsk People's Republic.
Voting is underway even in Russian city of Khabarovsk. For Ukrainians who have been deported from the occupied territories to Russia, polling stations were also organized for the Sham referendum. Such sites were created in Moscow and in Crimea and in the Far East.
Сегодня пятница, 23 сентября.
Friday, September 23rd, there are many people in support of the Donbass, in support of the referendum on the DPR, LPR, Kherson region.
On September 23rd, Russia launched a so-called survey of residents of the temporarily occupied territories of the Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions about joining Russia. The occupying authorities stated that the illegal voting would last 4 days. On the first day, only representatives of Russian media highlighted polling stations in the occupied territories.
How did you vote? Yes. Why? How long can I endure it?
At this time, evacuees from the occupied Snihirivka-Mykolaiv region recorded a video message to their fellow countrymen who remained in the occupied territory, urging them to ignore the Sham referendum.
Snihurivka has always been, is and will be Ukraine. We never wanted to join the Russian Federation, and we will not want it. We urge the residents of Snihurivka and the neighboring villages, don't go to the referendum and don't participate in the illegal voting.
Holding Sham referendums in the occupied territories of Donbass, Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions has no legal force, and neither Ukraine nor the world will recognize Putin's provocations, the office of the President of Ukraine stated.
Нету никакого референдума.
No referendums. Our territories are occupied by the occupation army, and accordingly there are active hostilities. No legal action is possible there, not even from our side, not even under international law, and of course not the abstract implementation of something from the initiative of the aggressor state.
World leaders have also reacted to the holding of Sham referendums. Thus, on September 22nd, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres told the Security Council that the so-called referendums in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine violate the UN Charter.
I am also deeply concerned about reports of plans to organize so-called referendums in areas of Ukraine that are not currently under government control. Any annexation of the territory of a state by another state as a result of the threat or use of force is violation of the UN Charter and international law.
The heads of the foreign ministers of the G7 countries also urged not to recognize the results of Sham referendums in Ukraine, even if Russia can achieve their holding. After meeting in New York, they issued a joint statement. Ukraine has the right to defend its territories and its sovereignty.
The foreign ministers of the G7 countries and the High Representative strongly condemned Russia's claim to hold sham referendums on sovereign Ukrainian territory, which is temporarily under Russian control. Any referendum held under conditions of Russian military presence, intimidation and forced deportation cannot be free or fair. Annalena Baerbock, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Germany, at the UN General Assembly in New York.
NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg called Sham referendums organized in the occupied territory fictitious, without legitimacy and not changing the nature of Russia's aggressive war against Ukraine.
This is a further escalation of Putin's war. The international community must condemn this blatant violation of international law and step up support for Ukraine. Jens Stoltenberg, Secretary-General of NATO, on Twitter.
EU Foreign Service spokesperson Peter Stano stated that Russia, its political leadership, and all those involved in the organization of the Sham referendums, as well as other violations of international law, will be held accountable. As soon as possible, the EU member states intend to develop and introduce a new package of sanctions. At the same time, they will support Ukraine's efforts to restore its territorial integrity for as long as necessary. Reported by Serhiy Kulyas, Natalia Belokudria, UATV News.